Every single American, gay, straight, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, every single American deserves to be treated equally in the eyes of the law and in the eyes of our society. The single best thing about coming out of the closet is that nobody can insult you by telling you what you've just told them. Rachel Maddow.
Blessed are the queer. Blessed are the wanderers seeking affirmation. Blessed are the worshipers praying from closets, pulpits, pews, and hardship. Blessed are the lovers of leaving family and familiarity, leaving tables where love is not being served. Blessed are those who stay. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for justice, for they will be satisfied. Blessed are the queer, disciples of truth, living, breathing, sacred reflections of divine love.
Before I start, I just want to give a quick trigger warning because I am going to talk a little bit about suicide. Byram Austin Bowlerjack was born on September 1st, 1922. He was my paternal grandfather, and he was a closeted bisexual man until after my grandmother passed in 2016. Sometime after I had come out to my entire family, I was at their house visiting. I was up late one night alone, and he brought out a huge photo album covered beautifully in a reindeer hide. It contained some of his most precious memories. He showed me clear, crisp, black and white pictures of a handsomely built young man, him, smiling joyously with his brothers. Another, that same young man drunkenly sitting in a chair wrapped in nothing but a sheet in a hotel in New York City. And another photo of him in the Navy, standing shirtless on a truck hood in the Pacific as he worked to salvage the equipment we had dumped when we retreated. Then there were the pictures of other grinning young men on a beach, arms around each other playfully. When I asked my grandfather who the short blonde one was, his voice cracked when he told me his name, Stuart. He was my best friend, and we named your daddy after him, he said. Who was the other man, I asked. Very matter-of-factly, he answered, that's his boyfriend. That's how I figured out that my grandfather was bisexual. He didn't have the words or the freedom to use any language to identify himself. But like a lot of men of his time, he had discovered that love that dare not speak its name in the crucible of World War II and its aftermath. And like most of these other men, he never spoke of it. He wasn't able to come out until after his wife passed. Founded in 1988 by LGBTQ plus activists Robert Eichberg and Jean O'Leary, and first celebrated in 1988, marking the anniversary of the 1987 National March on Washington for Lesbian and Gay Rights, National Coming Out Day, or NCOD, is celebrated every year on October 11th, which was yesterday. Created to promote visibility and combat homophobia by encouraging LGBTQ plus individuals to come out to friends, family, and colleagues. It's based on the idea that the personal is political, that living openly is a powerful form of activism. Coming Out Day is a day dedicated to celebrating the act of coming out as LGBTQ+, and supporting those who choose to share their identity publicly or privately. The founders believed that homophobia thrives in an atmosphere of silence and ignorance. And that once people know that they have loved ones who are LGBTQ+, they are far less likely to maintain homophobic or oppressive views. Eichberg, who died in 1995 of complications from AIDS, was a psychologist from New Mexico and the founder of the personal growth workshop, The Experience. O'Leary was an openly lesbian political leader and longtime activist from New York. At the time, she was the head of the National Gay Rights Advocates in Los Angeles. LGBT, as they called themselves at the time, activists, including Eichberg and O'Leary, did not want to respond defensively to anti-LGBT action because they believed it would be predictable. And it was. The original logo was designed by artist Keith Haring, known for his bold, expressive style and advocacy during the AIDS crisis. And it is this artwork that you see on your programs this morning. NCOD grew rapidly, with participation expanding from 18 states to all 50 by 1990. NCOD is currently managed by the Human Rights Campaign, which provides resources for LGBTQ+ individuals and allies. The day now includes events like Speak Out, open houses, storytelling campaigns, and art initiatives to celebrate courage and authenticity. National Coming Out Day did start in the U.S., but it's also observed in Ireland, Switzerland, the Netherlands, United Kingdom, and Portugal. Coming out as anything is a process, a journey. It starts within yourself, identifying that feeling you've had all your life, that you are not the same. You are other. You've tried to fit yourself in that acceptable box that's been sitting in the floor in your room since you were born, but you can't. Then you decide that you won't. The pain is too great. Then those closest to you notice a difference. So you start to let people know. And you hope that your secret is safe. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. You reap the rewards and deal with the consequences. Your family may be next. Even I, with my hippie parents, who had all kinds of different friends my whole life, struggled to tell them. I never actually could tell my father. I was too scared. Mom told him. He still loved me. I didn't know about National Coming Out Day when I came out to my mom in 1990. I laugh now, 35 years later, because now I can laugh. At the time, I was incredibly distraught and terrified. Tears and snot running down my face. But when my mother cautiously asked what was going on with me, I couldn't look at her when I said I felt different. She gently asked me about boys or girls. When I nodded at that last word, she wrapped me in her arms. She told me as she calmed me that she had known since I was very young that I was gay. I howled dramatically, "Why didn't you tell me?" She chuckled and said it was a truth that I had to decide what to do with, not her. It took a while for me to understand the truth in that. My mother did cry eventually, not because I was gay, but because she knew how hard this world judges people like me. She knew how many times my heart would be broken by losing people I loved to the horrible epidemic that was AIDS, to addictions, and the other epidemic that is so prevalent in our closeted community, suicide. People can come out at any age for anything. Children, as yet unburdened by societal pressures and norms, often use their limited vocabulary to let adults know that they feel certain things. They don't know what transgender is. They just know they feel yucky in those clothes or with that hair. As they begin to expand their universe inside and out, they learn new words and their feelings get stronger. Maybe they don't want to play with gender norm toys, or maybe they do, but they still feel like they don't fit the mold. As they age, people may decide they can't live with the lie anymore. The burden of keeping up the appearance of expectations has become too heavy. So they begin to live in a way that feels authentic to them. And that authenticity may change over time. Someone may transform from being gay to being transgender, from being romantically, intimately involved to not doing so and not wanting to. We are all a spectrum. Sir Ian McKellen has said, "I've never met a gay person who regretted coming out, including myself. Life, at last, begins to make sense when you're open and honest." I have known others who couldn't or wouldn't come out to one degree or another. There are as many reasons as there are colors in the rainbow, and they are all valid. Some fear the effects it may have on their elderly family members. Others fear the repercussions that could come professionally. Some just never feel they have to shout from the rooftops something they feel is personal and intimate, therefore not everyone's business. And there are consequences to coming out. The Youth Risk Behavior Survey Data Summary and Trends Report 2013 through 2023 says that female students and students who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, questioning, or another non-heterosexual identity experienced higher levels of violence, substance use, poor mental health, and suicidal thoughts and behaviors than their male and heterosexual peers. According to the Trevor Project, LGBTQ plus young people are not inherently prone to suicide risk because of their sexual orientation or gender identity, but rather placed at higher risk because of how they are mistreated and stigmatized in society. The Trevor Project's 2024 U.S. National Survey on the mental health of LGBTQ young people found that 39% of LGBTQ plus young people seriously considered attempting suicide in the past year, including roughly half of transgender and non-binary youth. So choosing to come out can be seriously dangerous for youth. So they have to deal with the bullying from peers, parents, society, and now our political administration. Many have to weigh the decision to come out versus hiding themselves until they can feel safe. Some can't see the light. Nina LaCour, the best-selling author, wrote in her autobiography, "People talk about coming out like it's this big one-time event. But really, most people have to come out over and over to basically every new person they meet. I'm only 18 and it already exhausts me." My grandfather didn't get to live the life he should have been able to live. But despite what he faced, what he lost, and what was taken away from him, he did what he could with what he had. He loved fiercely, and his love allowed me to be who I am. I'm grateful for that, and yet my heart still breaks for him. What happened wasn't fair to my grandmother either. I don't pretend to know exactly what she felt, but I believe it must have been unthinkably difficult to be in her shoes. And yet I know that she experienced great happiness. And much of that was because of my father and his brothers, and by extension, her grandchildren. Ultimately, my grandparents' story is complicated. To even begin to try to understand it requires context and nuance and a consideration of the time in which it happened. But I'm not sure that's the point. For me, the point is that love comes in all different forms. And my grandparents' lives, as imperfect and unfair as they may have been, were filled with love, and thanks to them, so mine has been. The importance of National Coming Out Day is not that you have to use a specific day to begin to live authentically, but because we need to celebrate the courage of every point on the journey. These times we live in, they are hard, dangerous even. But those of us who can, should. We are the light that chases the shadows from the journey's trail. Brene Brown says it best: owning our story and loving ourselves through that process is the bravest thing we'll ever do. I hope I've made my grandparents proud by being that brave.
I love that I am trans, and I love that I am queer. And the more I hold myself close and fully embrace who I am, the more I dream, the more my heart grows, and the more I thrive. To all the trans people who deal with harassment, self-loathing, abuse, and the threat of violence every day, I see you, I love you, and I will do everything I can to change this world for the better. Elliot Page.